Aha, I'm alive. I exist. And I see that Irene, that you've already written in to say that you're here. I'm still running the experiment. I started a couple of minutes early so that I can make sure that I'm seen on both YouTube and Facebook. So Irene, I think you're on I don't know which one. Facebook, I guess. I have a comment section that I can see on the screen on my laptop here. On the display that I have on my notebook over here, all that tells me is the number of people watching kind of on YouTube and Facebook. But I can't necessarily see the comments right away there. But I can see them over here, and that's where you can make your requests and your comments and all that. I like to wait until it's exactly noon before I play. Or perform, I should say. I suddenly realized I don't have my Burning Man pendant on, and I suddenly feel naked without it. So I got to go get it. These are the intimate details of the musician's life that you get to see because you tuned in a couple of seconds early. That's the backside of it. And it says Entomo Machine, Entomo, Entomo Machine. And when I was a child, of course, like every kid, I loved bugs, and I thought I was going to be an entomologist. Here's the front side. And for those of you who don't recognize that symbol, that is the Burning Man. There we go. And I can thank my friend Tabitha Ozaki for giving me this beautiful pendant, and my other friend Amber Scott for mounting it on this beautiful necklace for me with the, looks like jade and Gosh, I forgot what the other ones are. Never mind. Anyway, so, and the good folks at well, everyone who just contributed to me having this pendant. Now I feel better that it's on my neck. And it's 11:59. So here we go. I think I've avoided it as long as I can. There are 5 people watching. At least one of them is me. And one might be Irene. Hello, everybody. I hope you will make yourselves known to me by hitting the comments, just a wave or a smile or just I am here. Even better if it comes with a request. But we'll see how that goes. I haven't really prepared yet today, and I've got a difficult program coming. As I look down the list, I have some songs that, oh no! But I'm the one who set myself up, right? I'm the one who said, look at this list, Dan. You know, every time you go, you perform, you kind of fall back on whatever is in your mind. But look at all the songs you know. And I started working my way through this whole list, and there's some doozies on it. I've been kind of working on a Kurt Weill thing. But the main news that I want to tell you is that California is carefully and reopening some businesses, and that includes some outdoor dining. And that means that the Dockside 2 in Morro Bay is going to be open again for outside seating. I guess, I don't know yet what the safety restrictions that are going to be put in are, but Fast Eddie's Corner is well far away, more than 6 feet away from where any people are. The tip jar can go that far away. And so there will be live music again, and I'm really delighted. And that means that I am likely to drop these shows from my RV down to once a week until things kind of normalize a little more. But I'm also upgrading equipment, and I think I might just for kicks start bringing my internet camera and all that and continue going down the list outside of requests. But why not? Just, continue to broadcast if people want to see it. We have the technology, right? And with that, friends, I've yacked enough. I think it's time to start the show. So on the count of 3, everybody shout along with me and say, wow, banjos rock. Are you ready? I know you are. 1, 2, 3. Wow, banjos rock. Try that again. Wow, banjos do rock. Woo! There we go, friends. That was the Lonesome Road Blues with some variations. Played a long version of that. And, of course, got the itchy nose. Hey, Joseph. How you doing, Joe? Good to see you. It's been quite a long time since you and I and Dave and all them were Uppity Creek. My friends, those of you probably don't know that in 1982, as I think I was still in college. I'm sure I was. But over the summer, I had a gig at King's Dominion, a theme park near Richmond, Virginia. And I was in the band for a show called I Believe in Country. Da, 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 da. And, it was a theatrical review show on a little stage at a theme park. It was my first theme park gig, and I guess about 15 years later or so, I ended up at Opryland. So it served me well, that gig. There was a little bluegrass band there that got to actually play a little bit of what they actually wanted to play instead of a well-rehearsed, slick show. And they and I used to hang out and jam quite a bit, and I would say there was quite a bunch of rope burned back in those days. And a final time was had by all, and Joseph Hasty was one of the pickers in that band, Uppity Creek, otherwise known as the Bluegrass Holes. And then there I was busking my way across Europe, and I believe it was in Copenhagen, was it, that I bumped into the Bluegrass Holes themselves on the streets as buskers. I had no idea they were there. I don't think I did. And then we ended up spending a few days together, and what I remember was that they were called the Bluegrass Holes. They were making good money as buskers, and I think either Joe or Pete ended up staying there, met a lady and stayed there. But they called their van the Hole. So they were the Bluegrass Holes, and the van was the Hole. And when it was time to pull over and park somewhere or find a place to camp, they'd say, "Time to hidey ho." Anyway, so there's a story from back in the day. And why am I delaying? Because it's just good to talk to people. I haven't done that in a while. Before I get back down the list of songs, it was pointed out to me today that it's Bob Dylan's 79th birthday today, so I thought I'd do one of his songs. many roads must a man walk down before you can call him a man? How many seas must the white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? How many times must cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many years can a mountain exist before it's washed to the sea? And how many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? How many times can a man or woman turn his or her head, pretending he or she just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many times can a man look up before he can see the sky? How many years must one man have before he can hear people cry? How many deaths will it take till we know that too many people have died? I'm talking to you. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. All together. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. One more time, all together. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Happy birthday to Bob Dylan. There we go. Hi there, Tyson. Thank you. Looking forward to the Newgrass. Love the Newgrass. Well, thank you. There's quite a bit of debate. Well, I wouldn't say there's a lot of debate. I mean, Sam Bush is the leader of the Newgrass revival, and clearly that word belongs with him. But even he kind of acknowledges that Eddie Adcock and John Duffy were the people who really kind of made it possible for Newgrass music to happen. And Eddie Adcock in particular, folks don't remember that when John Duffy retired from the Country Gentlemen, and then Eddie was kind of the arranger for about a year, and then he left. And he moved to California and did some rock and roll and this and that. But he came back with a band he called The Second Generation with Jimmy Gaudreau. And I'm going to forget all the names. So let me not even try. But they put out they were the first ones to really put out kind of a rock and roll, a truly rock and roll bluegrass hybrid. A little before Newgrass Revival, I think, did it. Let's see, what is Debbie? Hi, Debbie. Well, good. Hey, first time out in 78 days. Well, I'm glad that you're back, or that you came back. So let's continue down the song list, shall we? Speaking of Newgrass Revival, they had a banjo player who went on to do a few good things, named Bela Fleck. Before that, it was Courtney Johnson, but Bela was in that band. But before he was in Newgrass Revival, he was in a group called Spectrum, and in that group was a guitar player named Glenn Lawson, who was a fine songwriter and singer. He had come from J.D. Crow's New South. The band Spectrum was Glenn Lawson, Jimmy Gaudreau on mandolin, Bela Fleck on banjo, Mark Schatz on bass, and then for a little bit, Jimmy Mattingly, when he was about 18 or 19, he was in that band, and man, could he play fiddle, and he ends up with Dolly Parton. He's one of the very best fiddlers out there. Anyway, here's a song written by Glenn Lawson for all of you gardeners out there. Herbert the Rabbit. I'm going to start that again and hit that B flat note right. Herbert the Rabbit. Herbert the Rabbit, he lived at the pond. He ate from the garden of old Farmer Brown. Lettuce and carrots were his favorite foods, and Farmer Brown's garden had lots to be found. But the farmer's wife, Hilda, doesn't like pests. She put a poison in her cabbage beds. Herbert, he ate it, and he died there one night, convulsing in the pale moonlight. He was some mother's rabbit, he was some mother's hare, and some mother loved him in some den somewhere. But he ate from the garden of old Farmer Brown, and the old farmer's wife put him down. Bertha the crow, she lived in a tree. High in the branches, she raised her family. Corn was her pleasure, both yellow and sweet, and Farmer Brown's garden was the best place to eat. But the farmer's wife, Hilda, doesn't like crows. She put a poison out in her corn rows. Bertha, she flew out one bright sunny morn and never flew home anymore. She was some mother's birdie, she was some mother's crow, and some mother loved her in some nest I know. But she ate from the garden of old Farmer Brown, and the old farmer's wife put her down. Well, this story's a sad one, and it went on all year. After Herbert and Bertha went Bambi the deer, and Billy the beetle, and Millhouse the rat, all died from the poisons that Hilda put out. But in the fall came the harvest, she canned everything. She ate it all winter and died in the spring. A chemical cycle from her pantry shelf. Seems that she poisoned herself. She was some mother's daughter, she was some mother's girl, and some mother loved her in this curly-haired world. But she ate from the garden of old Farmer Brown. Seems that she put herself down. Yes, it seems that she put herself down. There we go, friends. That's called Herbert the Rabbit. Oh, someone sent in a whole paragraph. Leroy Savage, according to Sam Bush, is the godfather of Newgrass. New Deal string band. All members are alive. Well, that's right. There was also a group called the Monroe Doctrine, and there was one called Poa Pratensis. And in fact, I think Sam was in the Monroe Doctrine, was it? But yeah, there were a couple of bands doing it. But I think that if you look to the Country Gentlemen back in when Eddie Adcock joined in 1958 and 59, and the stuff that they started doing, like Heartaches. And they did one called The Gentleman is Blue in 1963, where Eddie's solo was something like, he goes, he was doing, I wish now I'm going to have to go listen to that recording again, because he goes absolutely nuts. It's nothing but a blues that the Country Gentlemen did, and the rhythm is John Duffy on mandolin leading it. I mean, that's the rhythm of it. It's a straight up blues, and then on Heartaches, they did play the melody. Now I play the melody different than when they did it. That's how they did it. And he does this move. Like that. Then he goes. Something like that. So they were, I think the Country Gentlemen, you can really say, laid the groundwork for all those bands. And I'm a big fan of Eddie Adcock, and he's a dear friend. So that's why I'm kind of an Adcock-centric view of that era of bluegrass history, because I think it's pretty well arguable, judging from what was going on in the D.C. area at the time with Buzz Busby. We're talking about the late 50s into the early 60s, well before, Sam Bush or any of those guys were around. I think it was really John Duffy and Eddie Adcock. And here I am stalling for all of y'all, all 19 of y'all, because I have some hard stuff coming up to play. I got the Heartaches last time, actually, but what's going on is that the next song on the list after Herbert the Rabbit, you see, is Here, There, and Everywhere, which I forced myself to learn because it's such a great song. I've been so involved in this Kurt Weill transcription that I didn't play any of these songs. So I'm going to delay one more second and just remind you folks that I have a Venmo account. Like many musicians losing gigs these days, there's my Venmo account. And I have a PayPal at my email address. And if you ever wanted to email me with private questions about technique or want to argue with me about who the father of Newgrass really is, you can do that also by email. Okay. Hey, Jeff, how you doing? Yeah, your favorite era of the Country Gentlemen, I agree. And the Doyle Lawson and Bill Emerson era, of course, is amazing. But yes, I think that the classic Country Gentlemen with Tom Gray on bass and Eddie Adcock and John Duffy and Charlie Waller, they were just so innovative and so talented, and just everything about them was unique at the time. To lead a better life, I need my love to be here, making each day of the year, changing my life with the wave of her hand. Nobody can deny that there's something there, running my hands through her hair, both of us thinking how good it could be. Somebody's speaking, but she doesn't know he's there. I want her everywhere, and if she's beside me, I know I need never care. But to love her is to need her everywhere, knowing that love is to share. Each one believing that love never dies, watching her eyes and hoping I'm always there. I want her everywhere, and if she's beside me, I know I need never care. But to love her is to need her everywhere, knowing that love is to share. Each one believing that love never dies, watching her eyes and hoping I'm always there, to be there and everywhere, here, there, and everywhere. Whew. Hey, I survived. I got through it. I don't think I made any really huge major clams there. I'm actually almost pleased with that performance. Thank you for hanging out with me, friends. There's another comment. Hi, Jeff. Tyson. Important work. Thanks. You will be. Help keep it alive. Well, thank you. That's kind of my goal. I moved from an area back in Washington, D.C., that's just steeped in bluegrass, and there's so many great banjo players there, starting with Mike Munford. And then you got Bill Emerson still out there doing it there, and Scott Walker, and Ira Gitlin, and Mark Delaney, and probably a bunch of younger banjo players there now that I've never even heard of. So I came from there to San Luis Obispo County, California, where there's not a whole lot of bluegrass. There's a fellow named Tennessee Jimmy Harrell, who's an authentic country boy doing, some roots acoustic country. There's my friend Erin English, who's a wonderful banjo player and a John Hartford devotee, but she would not call herself a bluegrass person the way I kind of grew up really steeped in it at the feet of the Seldom Scene and the Country Gentlemen and Eddie Adcock, and I got to play one song with Bill Monroe one time, so I feel like I'm bringing something here that is lacking and trying to let people know kind of that the history of bluegrass music does not begin with the Bluegrass Album Band and Tony Rice and those guys, but it goes back a little farther than that. And by the way, for those of you who want to really see something, and if you haven't heard of it, check out a band called the Earls of Leicester, and that's Leicester spelled like the town in England, Leicester, the Earls of Leicester. This is Jerry Douglas's project that pays tribute to Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs and the Foggy Mountain Boys by trying to recreate their shows and their songs on stage live. And for those of you progressive bluegrassers who think that music is just easy to pull off and do right, I invite you to go and watch the Earls of Leicester and ponder if you could pull off anything that tight and professional. And one other thing, if you really want to see tight and professional, go to the YouTube and find those Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs TV shows and Opry TV appearances that they were doing, and see how they relate to the camera and how just utterly, completely, 100% professional they are, top to bottom. How well they play, how well they sing, how well they dress, how they present themselves on the camera. They look at the camera like it's a friend, and they're just a wonderful act. So my hat is off to Flatt and Scruggs for sure. All right, back to the list, shall we? Irene, if you're still watching, this is for you. Mary, if you're watching, this is for you. Nancy, I know you're not watching, but this is for you anyway. Now that the COVID-19 restrictions are over, there's a chance your banjo player could meet a lady of the female persuasion to sing this song to. But in the meantime, I sing it to all of you. It's a classic, because all of Hank Williams' songs are classic. Hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up with me? Hey, sweet baby, don't you think maybe we could find us a brand new recipe? I got a hot rod Ford and a $2 bill, and I got a spot right over the hill. There's soda pop and the dancing is free. If you want to have some fun, come along with me. Hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up with me? You could see the wheels turning in my head on that one, couldn't you? But you know what? I'm free and ready, so we can go steady. How's about saving all your time for me? Oh, no more looking, I know I've been tooken. How's about keeping steady company? I want to throw my old date book over the fence, buy me another 4, 5, or 10 cents. I'll keep it till it's covered with age, 'cause I'm writing your name on every page. Hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up? How's about cooking something up? How's about cooking something up with me? Yeah. There you go, friends and neighbors, especially the ladies among you, because that's how I roll. Hey, good looking, what you got cooking by the great Hank Williams. I don't see any other comments, and I see that there are, 13 watchers. I'm in the double digits. Thank you so much, friends and neighbors. Should I mention my Venmo and my PayPal once again? I probably should, because I are negligent about that. Dan at BanjerDan's.net. You can send a donation to PayPal that way. And my Venmo is here. Folks, I have ordered everything but the camera, but I've got some recording equipment coming. I've uploaded the app called Acapella onto my phone and onto my laptop and this and that and the other, my iPad. So I'm going to be able to pretty soon do those videos where I'm in 4 boxes all at once playing some stuff. So I intend to release some things, but I'm going to be switching from this format eventually to a Patreon channel and subscription services so that the people watching can support me making better videos and videos that are on topic and not just me rambling and going through my list and being sociable, which is my usual MO. I do want to do some banjo lessons, and I do want to share some of the compositions and some of the ideas I've had in my head. And but of course, I want to get back to performing live in front of people as soon as that can happen, because that's my real passion, and that's what I feel I do well. Hey, thank you, Jeff. Yes, isn't Here, There, and Everywhere is not just one of the best Beatles songs, it's just one of the best songs, and a lot of it has to do with the key change. Now they did it, I believe, in G, but much higher vocal than I do. So so that's kind of normal stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4. Changing my life with a wave of her hand. Most wave of her hand. Now that might seem unusual, right? To go from, you're going A, I'm in the key I'm in, so A, B minor, C sharp minor, D, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. Does that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it goes to G sharp minor, 7, and then a C sharp. So what is that? Well, here I am in A, so there's a G sharp minor. It's not really in the key, is it? Because it has that note in it. The D sharp, which makes it kind of like D7. But anyway, what it is, you see what you're doing is you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this is a secondary dominant, essentially, because what you're doing is 2 to 5, which is your C sharp 7, 2 to 5 of F sharp minor, which is your 6 of 1, the 6 of A, right? So you're just going to there. That's where you end up, right? So you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, then 2 a 2 of 6 and a 5 of 6 and a 2 and a 6 and a 5 of 6 and 6 and 2 and 5. So 6, 2, 5, right? Back to 1. That's all standard. So it's getting to the 6 that's so clever. And I think that probably has more to do with people like Cole Porter and George Gershwin than it does with, Little Richard and rock and roll. But I find that to be a really beautiful thing that they do right there. 2 and 5. Then it just abruptly changes key to C. There's an A minor, which is the 6 of C, right? So you've gone from, you had this kind of cadence on a 6 when you were in A. Now he just switches to the key of C. So now you're at A minor. Then he goes back to 4 and 5 of C, and then A minor, but this time A major. So he just takes you right back to the beginning. And I just think that is such a work of genius. What an incredible composition, what incredible songwriting, and then to have the lyric itself just be so beautiful and so, it's kind of a universal, every image in that. Haven't we all been there when you meet someone that you're really attracted to? Somebody's speaking, but she doesn't know he's there. At least you hope that. You're looking in her eyes. Some other guy is trying to get in on the conversation, and she's kind of freezing him out. That's a good feeling. I've had it a couple of times, pretty rarely. Usually I'm the guy on the outside trying to get noticed. But playing the banjo to get noticed. All right, enough of that. So back to work, banjo player. What time is it? 12:41. Any questions, any comments, or shall I get right to the next song on the list, which is Chicory Wind. Ooh, I have a couple coming up for the guitar. This is a song, I probably heard the band Chicory Wind play it, but I don't remember them doing it. I'm sure it's on their record. I must have heard them do it. It's a song by Graham Parsons, who passed away way too young, like a lot of them did. A lot of people recorded it. I'm trying to think of who the first people I actually heard sing this song would be. And I don't think I will remember it. I did see the band Chicory Wind at Glen Echo Park. I wonder how many of you watching even know about Glen Echo Park. I used to go as a child. But the Seldom Scene, of course, did a wonderful version. So here we go. In South Carolina, there are many tall pines. I remember the oak tree that we used to climb, but it makes me feel better each time it begins, calling me home to Chicory Wind. I started out younger at most everything. All the riches and pleasures, what else could life bring? Now whenever I'm lonely, I always pretend that I'm getting the feel of hickory wind. It's a hard thing to find out that trouble is real in a faraway city with a faraway feel. And whenever I'm lonely, I always pretend that I'm getting the feel of hickory wind. But it makes me feel better each time it begins, calling me home to hickory wind. Hickory Wind by Graham Parsons. What do we got? Hi, Debbie. Oh, yeah, you know Glen Echo. Yes, indeed. You know the park very well. When I was in elementary school, we lived in Georgetown before it became Georgetown. And we would go sometimes all the way to Glen Echo, which was probably 8 or so miles out of town, to go. They had a pool there and some amusement. In fact, I think that's the first place I ever rode a bumper car, was this old amusement park that eventually got shut down, but it became a national kind of historical park, and they would have a folk festival there once a year or so. And I was a novice banjo player, just learning, and that's where I saw Hickory Wind and the Grass Menagerie, which featured Akira Otsuka on the mandolin. And more importantly, it was there I met my friend David Whitaker, and David Whitaker opened all kinds of doors to me, because he was, I guess he was 18 or 19, and he had a car, and he played dobro, and he turned me on to the Grateful Dead and took me on many, many, many adventures when we were young. So there we go. Next song is by Harley Allen. This song was on a record called Love Games by Eddie and Martha Adcock, second generation. That was when there was just the two of them in the band. Eddie was playing a lot of electric guitar, and he had his gitbo, which is legendary. Eddie decided he needed an electric banjo that actually worked. So he went about designing a double-necked instrument where the one neck is a Telecaster neck, a Fender guitar neck, and then down below it he has a small banjo head, no bigger than about like this, a practice drum head, and he has a second neck which is a 5-string banjo neck and a switch that he can toggle between. Sorry, I need to get this thing in tune. Anyway, that record came out about 1982, I would say. Love Games, Eddie and Martha Adcock. A few years later, late 80s or so, Tony Trischka had a band called the Big Dogs with Andrea Zahn and Harley Allen. They played this song, and after the song was over, I said to Harley Allen, who I did not know well, I think I barely met him at that point, said, "Hey, that was great that you did a Martha Adcock song." And he said, "What song was that?" I said, "High Sierra." He said, "I wrote that song." And yes, I was quite embarrassed by that. Later on, I ended up in a band with Moody Klein. And he used to sing the hell out of this one. He later, Moody recorded this with Chesapeake. I've been higher than the high Sierras, lower than Death Valley could be. I've been right, but mostly wrong. Wrong about you, right about me. The way I feel, I can't explain. It's almost passion turned to pain. The sun still shines most of the time. Do you know the sun shines when it rains? I've been cursed and I've been praised, but I've been nothing these days. If I come back, time will see if I'm wrong about you, right about me. 'Cause I've been higher than the high Sierras, lower than Death Valley must be. I've been right, but mostly wrong. Wrong about you, right about me. Wrong about you, right about me. There's one by the late, great Harley Allen called High Sierras. Thank you for tuning in. Hello, Mary. Good to see you here. Thanks to all 11 of you for tuning in. Gosh, it's nice to be in the double digits. We do have some changes coming, folks. I'm getting a camera pretty soon, an actual camera, and some upgraded software. I've been working on some new music. Oh my gosh, then it gets really hard. Anyway, never mind. I'll work on it later. But it's the Three Penny Opera Overture. I'm pretty excited to be able to try to get that actually out. In the meantime, continuing down the list, unless, of course, you have requests or questions or comments to which I can reply, I'm going to continue down the list with a song that I learned from the Seldom Seen on their incredible Live at the Cellar Door record. Probably my favorite album of all time. Seldom Seen, Live at the Cellar Door. And they used this song to kind of make fun of traditional bluegrass where you weren't supposed to emote at all or have any fun. John Starling says on that record, if you lifted a foot, it was illegal. He said that they practiced negative stage presence. I always love that line. This was done back in the days of negative stage presence, where if you lifted a foot, it was illegal. That's what he said. But here we go, friends. I do it a little more seriously than they did it. On Your Hit Parade of Love. From what I've been hearing, dear, you've really got it made. You got a lot of fellers on your lover's hit parade. If I can't be your number one, I don't know what I'll do. I want to be promoted to the top. I'm so in love with you. On your hit parade of love, I know I'll never stop. I've got a long, long way to climb before I reach the top. But if I do get there soon, I'll really have it made. And then I'll know I'm number one on your lover's hit parade. Now it's your heart I'm after, dear, cause it's so nice and kind. Another one to take your place would sure be hard to find. So put your arms around me and be my turtle dove. And I'll feel like I'm number one on your hit parade of love. On your hit parade of love, I know I'll never stop. I've got a long, long way to climb before I reach the top. But if I do get there soon, I'll really have it made. And then I'll know I'm number one on your lover's hit parade. make it go a bit, everything might turn out good. We can have so much fun, we'd really have it made. And I feel like I'm number one on your lover's hit parade. On your hit parade of love, I know I'll never stop. I got a long, long way to climb before I reach the top. But if I do get there soon, I'll really have it made. And then I'll know I'm number one on your lover's hit parade. Then I'll know I'm number one on your lover's hit parade. Then I'll know I'm number one on your lover's hit parade. On your hit parade of love, Jimmy Martin and the Sunny Mountain Boys. How you doing, folks? All right, what's next? I found out that this next song was written by a fella named, I forgot to write it down, whoever wrote it. Oh, well. It's a song, another one I got from the Seldom Scene. And it's in the same key as the last one, which I usually don't do, but since I'm going alphabetically, that will happen sometimes. So today is Sunday, and President Barnum has said that he wants churches open today, and of course, it says somewhere in someone's book that they find very important. Someone that they said was kind of important. This person said something about don't pray in public with the hypocrites. I forgot who this person was, but it was something along the lines of, when you pray, you should just go inside your own closet and just look within your own self and pray to that. And that might be a little more important than going to some building with a bunch of people during a pandemic. And even if you're not showing symptoms, if you've been around someone who has been around someone who has the disease, then it's possible that you might even have it, even though you don't feel like you do. And so maybe it's not a great idea to go into this building just to let other people see. But then again, maybe it's not just that the other people can see. Maybe let's not forget that these tax-free organizations do need to make the money. They do need to keep that money coming in so that they can, buy more advertising, and maybe your mega church preacher can get another helicopter or jet or Rolls Royce or yacht or something like that. Maybe your spiritual advisor in the White House can amuse you by speaking in tongues and asking you to write a $10,000 check or a $100,000 check. But I digress. Uh-oh. Oh, yeah, someone found the reference for me. Yeah, I forgot who that important person was. But I digress because I don't believe in a word of any of it, except what can be kind of verified, that whatever is you might be thinking about in your meditation, when you go into your room by yourself and you look within yourself, that's what you're going to find, right? This is where it all resides. Nerve cells. There you go. But enough of that. This is as close to a gospel song as I'm ever willing to sing anymore. This is called I'm a Hobo on a Freight Train to Heaven. Well, the holy men say this world's in decay and there's a moral depression at hand. Maybe I'm as depressed as all of the rest, but I'm doing the best that I can. They're preaching repentance and passing down sentence before my defense can reply. Then I'm struck from their list of those who are blessed with a ticket to heaven on high. And I'm a hobo on a freight train to heaven. I ain't got a ticket, just stealing a ride. I'm not welcome aboard their train of the Lord, but I'll bet he'll be glad that I tried. Well, I double dog dare them to show me just where the proof is that I've gone astray. All the wild oats I've sown and the women I've known, I've loved in a most heavenly way. I harbor affection for the wondrous selection of things of which I'm not ashamed. So when Gabriel cuts loose, I'll hop that caboose and ride that glory-bound train. 'Cause I'm a hobo on a freight train to heaven. I ain't got a ticket, just stealing a ride. I'm not welcome aboard their train to the Lord, but I'll bet he'll be glad that I tried. I'm not welcome aboard their train to the Lord, but I'll bet he'll be glad that I tried. I just realized that I need to change one word in that. If Gabriel cuts loose, I'll hop that caboose. I'm going to change that. I see that there was a really long reply to something I said here. Oh, wow. It's from, oops, what have I done? I hit something I wasn't supposed to hit. Oh. I showed something I wasn't going to show. Oh, well. It's going to just have to stay up there? What the heck? Well, now I feel kind of silly. Because I just wanted to see what this really long one is. All right, I'll put it. Oh, wow. Mary sent a really long dissertation in, and guess what? We'll move on. But I don't know how to take this thing off. Let me see if. Nope, that doesn't undo it. Well, friends, there you have it. It's from Matthew. I wonder if there's something else I can put up. Hey, someone do me a favor and type the words "Wow, banjos rock," and then I'll put that up, make that visible instead of Mary's comment there. And then I'll continue down the list. How about that? Thank you for watching, friends. Thank you for tuning in. It's a little warm here in the RV, and I don't want to turn on the air conditioner because it's going to make a lot of noise. So I'm going to suffer for my art for a little while. Have about another 54 minutes. There we go. Thank you, Polly. All right. Let me touch that. Now what? There we go. There we go. Okay. Several of you typed it. Right on. Thank you. There we go. Jeffrey, I got you. Thank you. All right. I'm going to just leave that up. Except you know what? The capitalization is wrong. So no, this one is right. There we go. Thank you, Debbie. All right. Back to work. Everybody say, back to work, banjo player. One person say, back to work, banjo player. So what's next? I did Hobo on a Freight Train to Heaven. Hot Corn. Oh, no. Next is Home Sweet Home. Instrumental. If you don't know Home Sweet Home, think of Bugs Bunny outside his when he's actually in his den, and you hear the violin play yada da 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 yada da 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 da. That's an old melody from a light operetta from the 1890s in England, I believe, and the melody is called Home Sweet Home. I don't know the name of the play. And it became a popular song back in the days when you would get the sheet music. Basically, that was what you could get. Be it ever so humble, there's no place like home. Home, home, sweet home, there's no place like home. Home, home, sweet home, home, there's no place like home. Suddenly I feel like doing a John Hartford. Home, home, sweet home. There's no we'll play what we was like home. So here's how Earl Scruggs buried that melody in a roll. There we go. That was Home Sweet Home as arranged by Earl Scruggs, except the last couple of times through I did a couple of my own ideas. You tune your bass string to C instead of D for that. So I'm not as used to the positions. Especially when I'm up here. Like that kind of stuff. You see in there, the note that I'm used to getting here, the note I'm used to getting here is now here. It's so hard to get to. So I got to find a new position. And I have to be very careful about remembering that that's in a different note. So you can do some different stuff for sure. Anyway, I digress, right? Let's continue, shall we? Hot corn, cold corn. This is a fun tune. It's in the Earl Scruggs How to Play the Banjo book. And it's got a couple of interesting techniques that I don't need to get into. But I will tell you two things about it. One is that there is a extra beat in the chorus, so that there's a measure of 5/4 time, and it's when on the word yes, yes, sir, right there. And I'll tell you this as well, that I realized that the only way to do this song properly, you have to be able to execute the entire refrain on one long breath, because there's really no room to pause. And with all that said, here we go, friends. Little song about brewing up whiskey, corn liquor. It's called Hot Corn, Cold Corn. Cold corn, bring along a Davy John. Hot corn, cold corn, bring along a Davy John. Hot corn, cold corn, bring along a Davy John. Fare thee well, Uncle Bill, see you in the morning. Yes, sir. Upstairs, downstairs, out in the kitchen. Upstairs, downstairs, out in the kitchen. Upstairs, downstairs, out in the kitchen. See Uncle Bill just a raring and a pitching. Yes, sir. Hot corn, cold corn, bring along a Davy John. Hot corn, cold corn, bring along a Davy John. Hot corn, cold corn, bring along a Davy John. Fare thee well, Uncle Bill, see you in the morning. Yes, sir. Hold Aunt Peggy once you fill him up again. Hold Aunt Peggy once you fill him up again. Hold Aunt Peggy once you fill him up again. Ain't had a drink since I don't know when. Yes, sir. Hot corn, cold corn, bring along a Davy John. Hot corn, cold corn, bring along a Davy John. Hot corn, cold corn, bring along a Davy John. Fare thee well, Uncle Bill, see you in the morning. Yes, sir. Yonder comes the preacher and the children are crying. Yonder comes the preacher and the children are crying. Yonder comes the preacher and the children are crying. Chickens all are running and the toenails are flying. Yes, sir. Hot corn, cold corn, bring along a Davy John. Hot corn, cold corn, bring along a Davy John. Hot corn, cold corn, bring along a Davy John. Fare thee well, Uncle Bill, see you in the morning. Yes, sir. Ready to sing with me? Let's do it. Hot corn, cold corn, bring along a Davy John. Hot corn, cold corn, bring along a Davy John. Hot corn, cold corn, bring along a Davy John. Fare thee well, Uncle Bill, see you in the morning. Yes, sir. There we go. Who said back to work, banjo player? Thanks, Debbie. All right. That was Hot Corn, Cold Corn. Next on the list is Hotel California. Oh, boy. Here's an epic. I should drink some water before this one. By the way, in case you're curious about these items behind me, hanging on that knob over there is the blue ribbon from the Del Mar Fair banjo contest, where I was the only entrant. And this is my pass from Bela Fleck's Blue Ridge Banjo Camp last year. And then this stuff here is badges from various events I've attended over the years, including a bunch, just many, many years at the NAMM show. Up here are some, this is all Burning Man stuff in the middle, various pendants, or pins, excuse me. On the other hand side, over here, I have the tote bag. Am I pointing the right way? Yeah. The tote bag from Bela Fleck's camp. And then all these are from various years at the Burning Man. They're gifts that come from the different camps. Everything at Burning Man is a gift. I give away lessons, as I always do, in my music. This year I might have some stickers made up that say Omish, so that's what all these things are that hang behind me. And I have other memorabilia that either I don't have room to put up or just not the time. We'll see what happens when I get the new camera. I'm going to play Hotel California in a moment, but just before I do, a gentle reminder. My PayPal, if you care to contribute to the banjo player of your choice. My Venmo, in case you'd like to contribute to the banjo player of your choice. And as I like to remind everybody, there are lots of musicians out there. Oh, okay, Tony, good, gosh. We all need money, so there you go. On a dark desert highway, cool wind in my hair, warm smell of colitas rising up through the air. Up ahead in the distance, I saw a shimmering light. My head grew heavy and my thoughts grew dim. I had to stop for the night. There she stood in the doorway. I heard the mission bell. I was thinking to myself, this could be heaven or this could be hell. Then she lit up a candle and she showed me the way. There were voices down the corridor. I thought I heard them say, welcome to the Hotel California. Such a lovely place, such a lovely face. Living it up at the Hotel California. Any time of year, You can find it here. Her mind is definitely twisted. She's got a Mercedes Benz, got a stable of Cal Poly fraternity boys that she calls friends. Now they dance in the courtyard in the sweet summer sweat. Some dance to remember and others dance to forget. So I called up the captain and I said, please bring me some wine. He said, we haven't had that spirit here since 1969. And still those voices are calling from far away. They wake you up in the middle of the night just to hear them say, welcome to the Hotel California. Such a lovely face, such a lovely face. Plenty of room at the Hotel California. Such a nice surprise for your alibis. Mirrors on the ceiling, pink champagne on ice. She said, we are all just prisoners here of our own device. And in the master's chambers, they gather for the feast. They stick it with their steely knives, but they just can't kill the beast. Last thing I remember, I was running to the door. I had to find the passageway back to the place I was before. Relax, said the nightman, we are programmed to receive. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. Welcome to the Hotel California. Such a lovely place, such a lovely face. Plenty of room at the Hotel California. Any time of year, you can find it here. There we go. Kind of an extended improvisation right there at the end. Oh, thank you, Tony. Oh, yes, I'd like to laugh too. Thanks. Dr. Evil. All right, next. Some more rock and roll here. A big deal is made out of the people who promoted acts like Elvis Presley. Calling it a cultural appropriation, where the privileged white people are doing the black man's music. And there is something to that when you're talking about the record executives and the business people and this kind of stuff, the radio back then. But when you're talking to the artists themselves, or about the artists themselves, especially folks like Elvis Presley or Chuck Berry, black or white, or in between, they were all just saying they played country music. They were just playing hillbilly music. They were playing the music that was being played by the poor folks, the working people. And there wasn't quite as much distinction between the black and white in that culture as the record companies would make it out. So when you say, did Elvis Presley really rip off Hound Dog from the lady whose name I can't recall right now who wrote it and first recorded it? Maybe, especially because the business people probably didn't pay her what the song was worth. But I would imagine in the mind of someone like Elvis Presley, this is just the music that he liked. This is what you played. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't never caught a rabbit and you ain't no friend of mine. They said you was high class, that was just a lie. They said you was high class, and that was just a lie. You ain't never caught a rabbit and you ain't no friend of mine. Said you was high class, that was just a lie. They said you was high class, that was just a lie. You ain't never caught a rabbit and you ain't no friend of mine. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. You ain't never caught a rabbit and you ain't no friend of mine. Oh yeah. Ain't nothing but a hound dog. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's see. Uh-oh. Another epic in a minor key. I'm sensing a pattern here that I'm doing a bunch of songs in a row that I play slow and then kick into a bluegrass tempo later on, but it's alphabetical, so I'm just going to continue on the list. And it's getting a little warm, so I'm either going to take off this shirt or turn on the air conditioner and let you deal with a little noise. Because I can, right? Although it's only another 24 minutes, I can stick it out with the heat. If you can stick it out watching me, all 8 or 9 of you, thank you very much. If you can stick it out with me, I will stick it out with you. But I will take a sip of water. How about that? There is a house in New Orleans they call the rising sun. It's been the ruin of many young girls, and God, she knows she's one. Her mother was a tailor. She sold those new blue jeans. Her daddy was a gambling man way down in New Orleans. Now the only thing a gambler needs is a suitcase and a gun. The only time that he's satisfied is when he's on the run. She's got one foot on the platform and and the other on the train. She's on her way back to New Orleans to wear the ball and chain. Now mothers, tell your daughters not to do what she has done, and spend her life in sin and misery in the house of the rising sun. There is a house in New Orleans they call the rising sun. It's been the ruin of many young girls, and God, she knows she's one, and God, she knows she's one. House of the Rising Sun, an old folk song, that one. Do you know how hard it is to play the banjo when you got an itch on your nose and you still got to just ignore it and play? You folks don't know how I suffer for my art, do you? Not at all. How mountain girls can love. Oh my, oh my. I like mountain girls. Yes, I do. Women, actually. A little too old for girls now. In fact, I'd venture to say that I'm far too old for girls now. It's women. Get down, boys. All right, folks, here comes a noble experiment. I don't want to try to sing this one in G right now. So I'm going to go down to the key of E and sing the Stanley Brothers song called How Mountain Girls Can Love. Get down, boys, go back home, back to the girl you love. Treat her right and never wrong, and mountain girls can love. Riding tonight in a cold wind on the trail of the old Lonesome Pine. Thinking of you, feeling so blue, wondering why you left me behind. Get down, boys, go back home, back to the girl you love. Treat her right, never wrong, how mountain girls can love. Remember the night we strolled down the lane, our hearts were gay and happy then. You whispered to me as I held you close that you hoped that night would never end. Get down, boys, go back home, back to the girls you love. Treat 'em right, never wrong, how mountain girls can love. Get down, boys, go back home, back to the girl you love. Treat her right, never wrong, how mountain girls can love. How mountain girls can love. There we go. How mountain girls can love. The itch continues. I don't know what to tell you, friends. I suppose if this was a big, important festival show, I would just have to resist the urge to use these finger picks and tear the skin. But oh wow, how long has it been? Here's a children's song. It's under the H's. How much is that doggy in the window? How much is that doggy in the window? The one with the waggly tail. How much is that doggy in the window? I sure hope that doggy's for sale. I must take a trip to California and leave my poor sweetheart at home. If she has a dog, she won't be lonely, and the puppy will have a new home. All together, how much is that dog in the window? Woof, woof, the one with the waggly tail. How much is that dog in the window? I sure hope that doggy's for sale. All together, how much is that doggy in the window? And the one with the waggly tail. How much is that doggy in the window? I sure hope that doggy's for sale. How much is that doggy in the window, friends? But let me strongly recommend that you do not buy a dog. Instead, go to the shelter and adopt. Unless you really have the time and the money and the inclination to take care of a purebred dog and to make it a really good purebred dog and bought from a reputable breeder, then it's best to just adopt the ones that are going to get killed anyway, okay? And with that, friends, I've come to the end of my song list for today because I see I've only got about 10 minutes left. And that means I'm going to play my final two numbers. Thank you for hanging out with me, those of you who are here. Please don't forget to tell your friends and your neighbors that BanjerDan has a PayPal account. At my email address, there it is. And BanjerDan also has a Venmo account. And there you go, friends. And it's not that I need the money, but the people I owe the money to need it real bad. And with that, many of you know my last two numbers, what I generally play. My favorite song that I did not write by the great Tim O'Brien. It's called Less and Less. I try to travel around with less and less. I've tried them all, and the simple way is the way that's best. I save a lot of time not having to choose what color shirt to wear or which pair of shoes. Don't need a guitar to sing my song. Wherever I land, I'll always get along. I made up and down the road a time or two, I guess. Now I try to travel around with less and I had a woman once, she was not my wife. I took a long detour on that road of life. I carried that weight, nearly broke my back. I almost lost the ones I loved, getting back on track. I wasted lots of time and I still feel the pain. Made a vow that I won't go through that again. I've been up and down the road a time or two, I guess. Now I try to travel around with less and less. Coffee in the morning, little bit of wine at night. Meal somewhere in the middle, I think I'll be alright. I've got my pride, I've got a smile to greet the day. I've got a friend or two to help me through when I lose my way. That's you, friends, thank you. Don't need a guitar to sing my song. Wherever I land, I know I'll get along. I made up and down the road a time or two, I guess. Now I try to travel around with less and less. I've been up and down the road a time or two, I guess. And now it's time to travel around with less and less. Thank you, friends. Less and Less by Tim O'Brien. I'm not sure if I will be back on Wednesday, since some live shows are going to start happening again, like at Todd Mazzini's Dockside. And I'm going to upgrade the format here with new cameras and stuff like that coming up very soon. So I want to thank you for hanging with me, friends, for being here for me. You're my friends when I travel around with less and less, and I don't forget that. So let's close out the show with a hearty shout of "Wow, Banjos Rock" and a rendition of "The Longer You Live," my own song of mortality. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Wow, Banjos Rock! Well, the longer you live, the more people you're gonna see die. And the longer you live, the more tears you're gonna cry. Well, the longer you live, the more you're gonna feel sorrow and pain. So you might as well accept it, or else it just might drive you insane. Well, the longer you live, the more people gonna break your heart. And the longer you live, the more your body and your mind fall apart. Well, the longer you live, the more likely that you're gonna get hurt. And the longer you live, that's just the sooner you'll be under the dirt. That's why we dance now, right? Rig the game. And the longer you live, you see it always turns out the same. But the longer you live, the more you're tempted to give up and give in. But you're better off deciding to fight until the bitter end. You know why? Because the longer you live, the more babies you're gonna see. And the longer you live, the more sunrise and beautiful morning. Another night to gaze in wonder at the heavens above. And the longer you live, the more chances that you have to make 1, 2, 3. Thanks for watching. I'll repeat the first verse. You shout the last couple of words of every line back at me. When we get to the part about going insane, please give me some insane laughter. Okay? Please. I know you can do it. Here we go. Well, the longer you live, the more people you're gonna see die. Gonna see die. And the longer you live, the more tears you're gonna cry. Well, the longer you live, the more you're gonna feel sorrow and pain. So you might as well accept it, or else it just might drive you insane. Yeah, you might as well accept it, or else it just might drive you insane. Yeah, you better just accept it, or else it just might drive you insane. Wow, Banjos rock, man! Thank you, friends.